Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in. And as promised, I'd advertise this. I've been just in I used to do a regular show on a regular basis. And, as you start doing other things, like, at that time I didn't have as busy of a job as I do. And of course, as a result, the other things that I'm very passionate about have kind of suffered. So I'm going to try to get myself out here on a regular schedule. And so one of them is I'm going to do on Wednesdays, hopefully every week, we're going to be doing some kind of message for everybody to go, have for the next week and stuff like that. So that's what tonight's going to be about. Thursday nights, I'm going to reserve for maybe once or twice a month. I'm going to interview another guest. And Mondays, it might be me and a friend talking, or it just might be me talking about thoughts for the week, things that can help us, maintain a positive attitude throughout the week, or just some things to reflect on. So I did pull some cards up and they kind of concur with what I've been getting in meditation. So let's just go ahead and I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen here. And we could probably get this a little bit bigger. So right here is these three cards basically symbolize what is kind of going through. I just asked the question, what is this next week all about as far as like what's going on in the world? And as you can see, this first card is about us, lots of pain and anxiety surfacing in people's lives. And so, that's going to be something that we're going to be going through. And honestly, we've been going through this through the whole year. So this is nothing new. But basically, the other good parts about this are as this card. And this card is about looking in the mirror and self-reflection. And so even though there's a lot of anxiety happening, as the first card would suggest, there is also a lot of self-reflection happening. And this is this is a reading for all of consciousness, so to speak. So it's what it's saying is that people, which we can just look at the news and see that people are going through a lot of anxiety, and a lot of things are surfacing. And what it's about is what is forcing people to do is move in and look at themselves, and they're starting to look and say what is a priority for them and what is not a priority for them. And they're starting to let go of things, and they're starting to speak the truth about things and that kind of stuff. And that's why this next card is actually fairly important. It's the person who's standing here and they have surrendered, their hands are up. And as if they've surrendered, they've literally blossomed, so to speak. And that means that they've kind of ascended and they're connected to a higher state of consciousness. And how they did that is they faced all their anxieties. They faced everything that was going on in them. And they went inside, they did their inner work, and as a result, they blossomed. And so, hey, how's it going? Thanks for tuning in. So that's the first set of cards there. And then I asked the next question. I asked, what can an individual do? Or actually, I asked how much longer. Let's go, and that was my next question. So it didn't really give me a very definitive answer as far as how much longer we're going to be going through the things that we're going through in 2020. And I really think that's because the things that we're going through in 2020 are things that we need to go through. I mean, there is it's kind of the cleansing of the soul. Some people have been saying 2020 as 2020 vision. And what it's doing is it's making us face our demons, which is what this first card is all about. And as a result, but you see them leaving the person's mind or their brain. And as a result, they're clearing their soul and their mind. And how are they doing this? And then, like I said, this question I asked is how much longer do we have to go through all the stuff we're going through? And it didn't give me a definitive answer. What it did say is that we are releasing and clearing our mind, and it's going to happen as a result of us taking a leap of faith, so to speak. And so that's what the last card is about, is taking a leap of faith. So this is about consciousness. And so the other night I did a video on compassion for others and what they're going through and the mental state of everybody that's in the world. And what's happening is everybody's yelling at each other and screaming and arguing, and they're not necessarily coming together in a synergy. And so, hi, Sarah. And so, as a result of them not coming together in a synergy, and everybody's just arguing, it's going to take us being brave and taking that leap of faith as consciousness. So it's very important that we just kind of look at that. And so then I asked the next question. I said, well, what is the individual? What can the individual do? Because it's like we could talk about all of consciousness stuff, but then most people would say, okay, well, that's great. What am I supposed to do about it? Well, one of them is, of course, doing the inner work, and the other one is also about speaking truth. And so when it's in alignment with your soul and it's not coming from an outside source. So what ends up happening is a lot of us are influenced by outside sources. And so it could be our friends or our family, the people we hang out with, all that kind of stuff. And our opinions start to form based on the tribe we hang out with, so to speak. And I think it's really important now for us to be very authentic to our thoughts. That doesn't mean we have to be jerks or assholes or not compassionate with each other, because that's the total opposite of the direction that we're going in. The earth right now is being shooken apart, so to speak, and consciousness is being shooken apart and face its own demons so that we can start to have a greater compassion for other people. For those of you out there, I'm sure there's a lot of you that have gone through some severely hard times. I went through very hard times in the last recession. And so if you've gone through that, it doesn't have to just be financial. It could be things with your family, the loss of a loved one. It could be many other things that are considered to be a hard time in life. If you've gone through that, then you can have compassion for other people and what they're going through. And you can also tell them the truth. I mean, I know I've been saying to raise the hands, and I know I can't see you guys raise your hands. But for those of you who are out there, have you ever had a friend that's going down a dark path and you see it and you love them enough to say, hey, what the hell are you doing? That still comes from a place of peace. You're telling them the truth. And so that's the other thing that's going to be happening, is that truth is going to start coming out on individual levels and on a more of a global consciousness level. So what can the individual do? The individual can start facing the truth within themselves. The individual person can start looking at where they're being authentic and not authentic, and start, really being authentic. And so what does that do? By you facing yourself on an energetic level, and you start to be honest with yourself and authentic with yourself about your true feelings and what's truthfully going on with your soul and your physical self. Then what ends up happening is that energy and that release of all that stuff you were holding on to goes out into the universe and consciousness, and that opening starts opening up the rest of consciousness, so they in turn have the permission to do the same thing. So it's really kind of cool, because it's that 100 monkey thing, and I'm probably getting that wrong. Just being a living example. Yes, absolutely, Sarah. Just being a living example. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. So yeah, there's so much when you look at this, and then you start seeing. The other thing is that back to the basics. That's been coming to me a lot. We overcomplicate a lot of things. Now, there's some things that can be really complicated, but I'm just saying, right now, the constant message to me has been about back to the basics. And that means just kind of getting in and being good to people. And you know what? Hey, guess what? There's nothing wrong with asking for help from a higher power. One of the things that I've been saying on a lot is saying, I pray for truth, justice, compassion, peace, and love for the planet. And so I've been asking for that for quite a bit lately. And seeing things unfold, maybe not in the exact way I think they should be. And that's not for me to say. That's the key thing here, is that it's not for me to say. It's for that higher consciousness that I prayed to start showing that unfold. Excuse me. And so there's what asking for that higher power to ask us for help. And there's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, that's probably one of the more powerful things that we can do. The last question I ask is, what is the end result? So this one, the first card here, everybody always says this card looks scary, but really what this is about is facing the shadow and then becoming friends with your shadow. So it's interesting because everybody always wants to brush the shadow under the rug. And when it rears its ugly head, they want to smack it down. But what if you listened to the shadow and really started finding out why it's so upset and so angry when it rears its ugly head. And what'll end up happening is it'll start to trust you. And when it wants to rear its ugly head, and this is your inner world, by the way, you can say, hold on a second, we're not going to act like that. We'll talk later. And then you go back and spend time with yourself to look at your emotions and why that inner child was so upset. And so this card is about facing the shadow, but also bringing it into the light, so to speak. So it alchemizes and the yin and yang come together as one. And so the next card is about rejoicing. And so the end result is there's going to be a lot of rejoicing in the end of everything that we're going through. So we're going through all these crazy hard times and everything like that. And in the end, you're going to start seeing the results of all the work and all the things that we've gone through. Last card here is about there is going to be a tremendous amount of truths that are going to be revealed to everybody. It's going to be hard for people. And I don't know exactly what those truths are. I mean, because if I knew, well, you can figure that out. I mean, so some people think that they know the truth about things, but truly, I think Socrates said it the best. The only thing that I know is that I know nothing. But there is going to be a lot of truths, meaning consciousness is going to raise into a higher frequency. It's already working in that direction. It's going to get higher into the light. Yes, then into the sacred neutral, absolutely, and holding the light. And so what is happening is because we're going to be facing all these truths within ourselves, that's going to open up, and then a cosmic consciousness truth is going to start being revealed. And it's just going to be raising us into that higher consciousness. But there's lots of room for rejoice. And so I really, there's just so much that's happening. And this year has not been easy for me. I mean, there's been a lot of things. I went into this year really positive. And my positive state doesn't necessarily go down, but I've had to face some demons. And so, and that's okay for us to do that, by the way. A lot of people get really weird. They're like, oh, I don't want to face all this, and this shouldn't be like this. And, the truth is that we all have some demons that we have to face, or the shadow, or that inner child that we have to face. And there's nothing wrong with that. Matter of fact, it's actually very healthy to face that inner child and love it and give a loving space to it. And as a result, like I said, consciousness is going to raise into the other frequency. So this has been coming to me for quite a while, and the cards kind of message are kind of line up with what I've been feeling. And I do know that there's people that are lining up with this idea. They're thinking the same thing. They're like, yeah, I feel the same thing that you're feeling. I feel like we're going through all this for a very specific reason. There's some people that are really all into the doom and gloom, and I not to say that there's not bad. There's a whole lot of bad things going on in the world right now, and they've been going on for a while. And with that being said, through the end of this, I see a lot of positive things happening. As a matter of fact, at the beginning of the year, I was very positive and thought a lot of positive things were going to happen. And in a sense, when you really look at it, they are actually going in that direction, because what we're doing is we're clearing our field of all this stuff that's been going on for eons, and not just with us, but from the generations before us. And so now, as a result of us clearing all that, that's when the frequency and energy and the light is getting stronger, and there's a balance between that yin and yang. And that's what we're going through right now, is we're doing a clearing so that we can step into that balanced state, and the energy of consciousness will raise into a higher frequency. I hope you enjoyed this. These aren't going to be super, super long. I don't really think they need to be. I would like to point out that my website is in the comments and the description below. If you did like this, then if you want to go and subscribe to my newsletter, that would be great. I send you back a free CD, a downloadable CD. And if you're interested, I do sessions, and they are, coaching sessions and healing sessions. I do them via Zoom, so I can do them. You can be anywhere in the world, and I can do them. So go to my website and check it out. Much love, everybody, and peace, and have a great week. And I will see you guys next Monday, 9 o'clock Eastern. And I hope you enjoy it. Thank you so much.